time you need power. Need rudder.
$50, $40, $30,
Flare just a little
20,
bit. That's plenty.
10.
Power back to idle.
Not bad.
Keep us on the runway. Right rudder, right rudder. Right rudder. You're doing it all with your feet now.
Only took a couple of lights out. Well done.
I don't think you took any lights out. I think you did okay, but keep us on the runway. There you go. What a great job. What a great job.
Greetings everyone and welcome. It's Sunday once more, which means it's time for another episode of the Captain's Table. This one being Season 5, Episode 1. In keeping with the traditional naming convention of my Captain's Table videos, of course, the season changes every time there is a life event change. In this particular case, that will be a new job. Now, you may have noticed that this particular video of the Captain's Table, and based on the convention of my previous Captain's Table videos, this particular one is overdue by quite a length of time. There should have been at least 2 other Captain's Table videos in front of it, and as I will explain in the near future, the reason that those videos did not materialize in February is simply because, to put it shortly, I was not motivated and there wasn't a reason to post them. But of course, to start off this video, as you saw at the very beginning there, I, in the left seat there, am flying a full motion commercial simulator. Yes, this is a simulator for the venerable 757 and 767 aircraft. The cockpits are virtually identical. In this case, it was a 757, and I am piloting this aircraft on one engine. If you pay attention to the very center of the flight controls there, you'll notice a screen with the engine monitors. One of them has a power indicator, the other one is at complete idle because, well, I lost that engine. Piloting it down, I don't think I did a particularly bad job, but then again, at the same time, I feel like I certainly could have done better, but I am no professional pilot. Those of you who watched my previous episode of the Captain's Table way back at the end of January will probably recount or recall that I was in Denver specifically with my cousin to do this exact thing. You'll also recall in that video that I kind of guessed that what was going to happen was that my manager, who was being, well, a bit of a C-word, was going to attempt to deny my vacation and then try and call me on that Saturday, the Saturday that I was in fact doing this, and ask where I was at. And if you took a look at the video description for that video, that did in fact happen. And it was, in fact, the catalyst for her to go ahead and get rid of me. So, Wednesday, following my return from the simulator, right at the end of January, I was terminated from my job. Something that, if you have watched any of my previous episodes of the Captain's Table, you will be very well aware I fully expected to be the case, and in some respect kind of anticipated, and arguably, depending on who you are, may have incentivized through certain actions. Nevertheless, yes, I was terminated from my employer at the end of January. Now, this termination was both a good thing and a bad thing. It was a good thing in the respect that it did alleviate a lot of stress and a lot of anger and anguish about going to work and dealing with the situation at hand. Of course, the downside meant that I was effectively unemployed. So, for the better part of several weeks, I did actively do a lot of job searching. One of the reasons why I did not put out a World of Warships video, or any other video for that matter. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't do any live streaming. Simultaneously, at a certain point, after about the first week, the depression of being unemployed and constantly being at home did ultimately set in, and I pretty much wasn't motivated to do anything other than have some drinks and watch some movies, listen to some YouTube, watch some TV, anything of the sort to be a distraction. It also correlated at a particular time in Seattle for what we like to call here as Snowmageddon 19. My apartment in itself got 14 inches of the white powdery stuff, and the driveway that I would have had to go through in certain parts, thanks to the way the wind blew it in piles, had not less than 22 inches of snow. Luckily, I was unemployed and didn't have to go anywhere. All I had to do was put on some boots, some double-fronted pants, and some long underwear, and a nice big fat navy coat, and walk a block away to the market to buy food and drink. And drink I did aplenty during this time. Overall, though, the end result, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, a major life change has occurred. I am freshly employed with a new property management company, again, working in residential maintenance. Something, as I have mentioned in previous videos, that I don't necessarily want to do, but it is employment. And at the very least, this particular employment is paying me the exact same hourly rate I was making at my previous job, albeit I do have a bit more responsibility associated with it. However, unlike my previous job, and more in line with industry standards across the board, I am receiving, once again, end-of-month bonuses, and in this particular case, because my job title has effectively increased, I've stepped up one position as far as the job title is concerned, from tech to assistant supervisor. I do also receive quarterly bonuses on top of the end-of-month bonuses, which, if my calculations are correct and everything goes well, I should effectively have increased my average hourly rate by about $1.50 an hour, which means, once more, I got fired from a job and then got a new job and got a pay raise. Maybe I should get fired more often. Every time I do, I seem to get pay raises. No, maybe I shouldn't. Oh, universe. You so funny. At the very least, though, the new job. I have survived my very first week at it. The buildings that I will be working at are close to each other. And by close, I mean they are literally across the street from each other. Total, I will be responsible for about 120 units. I am, fortunately, not by myself, at least for 2 days a week. I do have a senior supervisor who will come down and assist at the properties as necessary. Luckily, again, unlike previous places that I've worked at, the property that I'm now at is more concerned with resident retention and higher occupancy than they are about higher base rents. Which means they're more likely to keep their residents and more likely to have less turnover. So I'm not going to be as focused on massive and crippling numbers of turns every month. This has ultimately alleviated a lot of stress on my end. Granted, it is still the first week, so it is still kind of the honeymoon period for me, as I'm sure the manager and the supervisor are definitely, most definitely, taking it very easy on me about their demands and the property demands in general. And simultaneously, I'm still very much so learning the property, so there are a lot of things that I may be missing in what they are going to expect of me, but they're letting it slide simply because I am so new. Time, of course, will tell, as it does tell all and always. I did, however, get a wonderful piece of additional news. The supervisor at my former job, who I am still in contact with, he's a wonderful individual and I wish him the best of luck regardless of his endeavors, did inform me that he himself has quit. And when I say he quit, I don't mean he gave them notice and suffered through 2 weeks. I mean he gave them notice, and by notice he gave them 4 days if they behaved themselves. Specifically, the manager behaved herself. She, of course, immediately threw a temper tantrum and then didn't speak to him for the rest of the week. I'm not making that up. That's his words exactly. He gave her notice on a Monday, and she didn't talk to him until he handed her his keys on Thursday afternoon and said goodbye. Yes. In hindsight, being terminated from that job was probably a very good thing. Incidentally, one of the reasons why I still hold a very good relationship with him is because he wasn't on site or at the property when they terminated me, and when I told him that I no longer worked there, he was genuinely surprised. Because he was away from work. He had just had twins and was on a temporary 4 or 5 day leave. And they didn't bother to tell him that they were getting rid of me. Well, that's probably one of the factors why he didn't bother to tell them that he was leaving. Among many, many, many other things at that property. Now, the only 2 people from the old maintenance team that remain are the housekeeper and my old coworker. But the housekeeper will probably be gone in short order, as the supervisor was the really only thing that was keeping her at the property, since she did find something better earlier on in the year and didn't really feel like she was much appreciated. And my coworker, who he is definitely a trooper and will certainly tough it out as best he can, has already indicated before I left that he wasn't going to take any of their bullshit. Didn't want to take on the responsibility or the mantle of being any kind of supervisor for the position, and was going to make damn well sure that they didn't try to thrust it upon him, even if they did pay him for the position. So now that he's the only one left, and probably the only one who's on call, and probably incessantly receiving text messages, phone calls, and otherwise about every little detail at the property that is wrong, it would not surprise me if he is gone in the next 2 weeks. And of course, all of this makes me very, very happy, because it is, of course, one of those things that it makes me feel so good to know that it wasn't just me who was so unhappy at that property, so unhappy at that workplace, and so very much ready to be done one way or the other. Now, in other aspects, I during my unemployment, did not play any World of Warships. When I did finally return to World of Warships, and I want to thank every single person who made a comment in chat while we were playing, whether I responded or not in chat, I do want to thank you for reaching out to me there. I didn't play World of Warships during my unemployment simply because World of Warships is competitive to me. It isn't something that I go and I play for stress relief. If I do that, if I want stress relief, well, I play the game that's currently on screen. I play something like City Skylines. I play something like Stellaris or Conan Exiles. Literally anything that I can do single player without having to deal with the stress of a multiplayer game. Dealing with teammates, dealing with trying to win or maintaining damage, kills, or win ratios. World of Warships is definitely one of those games that I have to do all of that, and so it is much more stressful and can very much so be frustrating. As a result, I stayed away from it for quite some time, and of course, though, I did return to it. And I will be playing more World of Warships in the future. Because my new job has a new schedule and a new hourage for that schedule, and because I will be on call much more often, I can effectively say now that it is highly unlikely that I will be doing any kind of live streaming in the future. For those of you who follow me on Twitch, I really am sorry. It is much appreciated that you do continue to follow me on Twitch, as I may very well eventually migrate to the platform as things change. But for now, it is pretty much dead. I'm likely not going to be posting, uploading, or otherwise streaming on the platform in the foreseeable future. I will, however, endeavor to put up at least one World of Warships video per week. Unlike previously where I was putting up 2 or even 3 World of Warships videos per week, you'll have noticed that I did recently switch over to 4K content. You can look at that, of course, in the video options on the side, with the exception of this particular video. Now, because of the capabilities of my gaming system, which I do all of my video editing, recording, and gaming on, 4K content is incredibly time-consuming for my system to render. And that means that I am realistically only able to put out one of those videos a week, because it takes my system, well, in the case of the USS Black review that I put out earlier this week, it took my poor system 10 hours to render that 21-minute video. And it took another 2 hours to upload it to YouTube. If you're not so inclined to see 4K content, I am more than happy to revert back to the standard 1080p content, which takes my system significantly less time to render. And as a result, it does mean that I could probably put out more video content. I'll leave the decision up for those of you who follow my Captain's Table video down in the comments below. Let me know what you would prefer, whether you would prefer to see stunning and beautiful 4K content on my channel, or whether you would prefer to see more video content on my channel. I can do one or the other, but not right now do both of them. Anyway, that's what's been going on in my life over the last month, over the last little bit of time, and hopefully the future will hold great and wondrous things. As always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Bry, signing off.